Going on, guys? Today we're chilling in the garage, absolutely melting out here, but it's all right. Today is the day we've all been waiting for. The B2 is finally here, guys. Now we're gonna do an unboxing video and assembly, and this one right here. I am gonna save you guys the trouble of taking the box off. Ain't no point in that. I'm gonna take it out of the crate. Ain't no point in that and showing you guys that. Just unbolt it. We're gonna get it up on the stand here, and then we are gonna work on this first box, getting everything on, the forks, the bars, all that good stuff. And then we'll work on the secondary box. So if you guys don't know, the B2, in order to save us on some little bit of shipping costs, it's going to come with the first box with the chassis, and then a second box it's going to come with the wheels and stuff. So we're going to work on this box first, get everything put together, and then afterwards I'll show you how to put the wheels on, the correct spacers, all that good stuff. We'll go through, make sure all the bolts are nice and tight. But guys, holy crap, I've been waiting months for this. I'm so excited. Hopefully you guys got your B2s as well and you're just as excited as I am. Can't wait to get it side by side with the B1 over there, looking fresh. Can't wait to put my own little touches on this thing. But yeah, so let me go ahead, get it out of the crate and throw it up on the stand. Then I'll show you all kind of what comes in the first box here. We'll work on that, and then we'll do the second box later. Let's get to it. Guys, look how freaking big this thing is. Like, here's that. Freaking huge. I got some pretty big hands too. Let's go to the B1. Oh my goodness. It's so much bigger. I mean, this thing looks amazing, guys. It came here good. Nothing that I can see is damaged. I did catch the driver and helped it off the truck, of course, so that might have helped. Look at this, dude. Super nice aluminum swing arm. We got 420 chain. Okay. We'll go over more of this in another video. But first, I just wanted to mention getting this off was super easy. Basically, it's just a bunch of these 14 millimeter bolts, nuts and bolts, both 14 millimeter. And then I had a couple of 10 millimeters that go into the clamps on top here, right there and there. But basically all I did was went ahead and cut the zip ties, got the forks out. I got the small box with a couple little things in here. All the loose stuff like the mud guard and the front fender. We got the bars with the brake on it. And then of course the last piece being the axle. The axle is actually through this, so that's holding it onto the bottom. So you just pop that off. Don't worry about where all the spacers and stuff go. We'll go through that, don't worry. Just make sure to keep it all together, and then I'll get you lined up here in a minute. But yeah, guys, I mean, holy crap, I am freaking stoked. So where do we start? I'm thinking first we'll go through all the stuff over here, and then we'll work our way from the front down to the back. So we'll start with forks, we'll get the bars on, we'll run the brake, all that good stuff. I'm just so freaking excited. Look at this thing. What a unit. All right, guys, so let's go over here and we'll check out what we got in the first box. Again, we'll go over the second box here in a little bit. So of course we have our fork tubes, and we have our fork guards right here. Looks like everything is attached, so that's going to be nice and easy. Our axle, of course. Now we have our front brake and our handlebars. Looks like the front brake is already pre-mounted as well, so we just got to run that down. Of course, we got our mud flap for the rear, and then our front fender. And then we go inside of our little box here. We got our number plates, we got our bar pads, instructions. There actually are instructions in here, so if you don't want to follow this video and you want to just do it yourself, give these a read. Then of course we have this front plate. Now this is going to go where this hole is if you decide you want to run something else instead of a far driver. But the far driver will fit in the front right here, which is super cool. So that's just there. And if you didn't get a kit from me and you still are running a far driver, it looks like you do get hardware. Hopefully these will work for something thicker like the 72-450 or 680 with a thick heat sink. But yeah, if you're running a flip ski or other vest-based controller, you can just cover that up with this plate and you're good to go. Little toolkit. So far, my B1 toolkit, and looks like this B2 kit. If you don't have tools, this should get you running. And then of course we have our top clamps right here for the bars with our bolts. That'll go right there on top. And then it looks like we have our foot brake little peg thingy. The B2s, if you don't know, they come with a foot brake instead of a hand brake, which I'm super stoked about. And then we have our front axle. Again, don't worry about where the spacers go. I will show you here by the end of this video once we put the wheels on. And then this, of course, I will show you guys this later. This is going to be to lock in your battery. So it's got like a built-in battery lock with the tray. Pretty cool. I'm stoked to show you guys. But yeah, we'll get more into that later. And then a couple zip ties. Who knows what they're for, but zip ties are always nice. All right, guys. So first thing we're going to do is come to the back instead. We'll still start from the front and work our way back. But first thing I want to do is kind of get this shock put into place right here. So this is going to be loose. And as you can see, we have a little kind of like a spacer deal zip tied onto here. I'll show you guys how that goes. But basically, actually it looks like there's a good example right there. The spacer's already in there. So this one just kind of fell out. And we'll go on the other side here. Just like so. So if you guys see that fall out, it just slides back into the aluminum brackets right here. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead, loosen this bad dog up. Seems like a couple of 14s, I would guess. All right, let's go ahead, cut that off, get that out of here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up. But we have a 13mm bolt and a 14mm nut. That way, if you guys are using your own tools, you know what to grab. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in real quick. Get this chain up out the way. But yeah, you guys got the idea. Bolt through hole, tighten the bolt down with the nut, and you're good to go. Shock is now mounted. I went ahead, tightened these up, and then just double checked. We got the same 13-14mm just to make sure those are nice and tight up top. And I'm not feeling any play at all, so that's awesome. Now, since I do have my box knife over here, let's go ahead and cut these zip ties. I'm actually pretty stoked about these. These are already put on for you guys, so no need to worry about how the spring goes and all that good stuff. So pretty excited about that. Go ahead, cut that off. Boom. And pop that off right there. Good to go. And then look at that, guys. We have a freaking foot brake. That is crazy. And then, of course, I'll show you how to adjust all this to get it right for you. All that good stuff. Then we'll go through, make sure everything's tight. But yeah, so let's go straight to the front and let's get these forks put on. So I always like to start on the left side. So if you'll notice on the both forks, you're going to have one with and without the brake mounts. And then of course on the fork guard, you'll notice you'll have a little brake line holder. So make sure this ends up on the left side. Now we are going to need a 6mm Allen for the top and a 5mm for the two on the bottom. So let's go ahead. We're going to take our first fork. I'm going to slide it on through the bottom. Nice and easy. And then from here, kind of poke it out the top just a little bit. Orient the top how you would like to see it. And then we'll take our 6mm. Sorry, that's our 5mm. We'll just do the 5mm for now. And we're going to give this a little tighten. Just a little snug right there. And then be careful how you have your bike. This is going to add a lot of weight to the front, so it could possibly come falling down on you. Don't want that to happen. All right, and then we'll grab our second fork, and then we're going to orient it and get it just about as tall as the other one is. Go ahead, twist that out the way, and then we'll go ahead and get one of these bolts tight. That way it'll hold it into place for us. Beautiful. And then we'll tighten up the second one on the bottom here. And then once we're snug, about hand tight, go ahead and give it about another 45-degree turn. Now these do not need to be extremely tight. In fact, there's a little gap behind this clamp right here, you can see. Now if you close that gap, you probably screwed up. You don't need to tighten it. So you can see we're about hand tight there. Go in here, give it like a 45 degrees, just enough. And then you want to make sure they're still both just as tight, just like that. That's all you need. Now these forks have a taper to them, so when you tighten them, it's a little bit larger down here at the bottom. So there's no way that these can push through and open these clamps up. All right, guys, so let me pop up my 6mm. Same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and get this about hand tight, just like that. And give it about a 45-degree turn. Good to go. That's all we needed. Our bars unwrapped, and we're going to go ahead and set these on here. Just like so, kind of let our brake dangle down here. And while we are holding on to this, we're going to go ahead and I've already pre-installed the bolts into the caps. That way to make it easier, I can go ahead and get them started by hand, just like so. These are a 6mm Allen. If you're using your own tools, of course. If not, you know, just grab one out of your kit until you figure out which one works. But these are a 6mm. All right. So we don't want to tighten these all the way down just yet. We'll wait till the end when we actually have our wheels on and we're sitting on it. That way we can figure out where we want these to be positioned for however tall you may be, or just whatever's comfortable for you. Now when you're tightening these clamps down, you'll notice a gap here and a gap on the back side. Now what you don't want to do is tighten one side all the way down to where this gap closes, because if you look on the other side, you're going to have a big old gap. So you want to make sure you tighten these down nice and even for a nice even clamping force. And just like that, this is just tight enough to keep the bars into position, but loose enough that I can move them back and forth if I need to adjust for my size preference. All right, next up we're going to go down here and we're going to attach the brake line. All right, now hopefully you guys can see this okay. We have our fork here and our brake hanging off of the line right off the bars right there. So what I like to do is take this little sleeve right here and move it all the way down to the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move this, we're going to take this brake and run through the inside of the forks. Then you'll have your two 10mm bolts with your crush washers. So we'll go ahead and install them just like this. Get them started by hand real quick. We'll go ahead and tack those on here in just a second. Now the reason we want to move this brake line onto the inside is you don't want it to run on the outside, because if you go down you could risk damaging your brake line, and the last thing we need to do is break a brake line and not have front brakes. No good. So next up we're going to go ahead and loosen this little brake line cable clamp right here, and then we want to run this up and in just like so. Put our cable back on and get our nuts started. These are going to be 10mm nuts and a 4mm Allen key on the back side here, and just like that. So it's going to look something around there. So we got our brake in here coming up on the inside of the fork, back out to the front, up and to the top. And we have 3 screws down here. These are 5mm. These are button head Allens. We want to take these out and we're going to go ahead and install our front fender. Now we're going to hold off on the number plate for now. If you have a kit coming or you're wiring your own kit up, you're going to want to, you know, run your throttle wire, your 3-speed wire, all that good stuff through here along with this stuff. So we'll hold off on the number plate for now, but it should be very easy. I'll go ahead and show you guys how to install it first, but like I said, if you guys are getting a kit or installing something now, just wait, hold off on it. We have our front fender here. Now there's a ton of holes in this, and it might stress you out trying to figure out what's what. So let's just start with the front one here, just like that. Pop it up in here and we'll get it started. Then from there you just got to look up under there and figure out which holes line up with these last two. And then as far as the number plate, like I said, I'm going to hold off for now, but we got another 5mm Allen bolt right here. And then we have our number plate here. See if I can back that up a little bit. You'll see you have this little hook right here. that'll actually hook in to the brake line just like so. And then you'll have these two little holes right here, two little notches that go into these posts on the front fender. So that way it'll be easy to line up just like that. And then as you can see, lines up with the hole right in there. You're just gonna pop your Allen screw in and you're good to go. Front end is pretty much done up. Like I said, we'll get into the second box and do the wheels and tires. And we're gonna come to the foot brake side and we're going to install our little foot brake peg thingy. Same deal, so hang on to your 5mm that we were just using, and these are gonna be a 5mm. And what we're going to do is just we're gonna take these off, put them on here, and kind of snake those through the back side and screw it on just like so. Pretty self-explanatory, easy enough. So in my case, this foot brake is just a little bit too high. One thing I want to mention, I should have mentioned this earlier, is before you have your wheels on, try not to press this or your front brakes. I think my little sleeve thing, usually there's a little black piece that sits in between these to keep them from crushing. Mine fell out, so if I was to press this down a bunch, it would clamp those two together. But anyway, so my foot brake is sitting a little bit too high, and that's very uncomfortable for me, and I need mine to sit, you know, about a little lower than the peg height itself. So what you can do is take a 10mm and then you can loosen this nut up. Now if you tighten this rod into the little yoke right here, what it'll do is it'll suck this up and in turn bringing this down. Or if this is too low for you, you can loosen this up and in turn it'll push it down, raising this up. Now mine is already maxed out on the inward position, so there's nothing I can do there as far as this goes, which is no big deal. What I'll do instead is, you can see here we have some adjustments here, so all I need to do is loosen these up. We have 8mm bolts in the front and we have 10mm nuts in the back. Also wanted to mention that I am freaking stoked. It has a pressure switch right here, so we can actually hook up brake lights to these if you guys wanted to run a light kit, say from A&E Electrics or my boy Cole over at EMF, one of those guys. They make great stuff. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. I got my brake all adjusted to where I need it, and now it's sitting just slightly below the peg, just how I like it. Again, that's going to be all reference for you guys. We're going to go through a couple more things from the first box. First thing we are going to do is we're going to install this little mud flap right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up the inside and show you how this little battery tray strap tie down thingy works. And of course you can slap this on your bars if you want to. That's all pretty self-explanatory. So we'll get these two things done and then we'll move on to the second box. So yeah, so let's go ahead and work on this mud flap. What we have down here, we got these here two 5mm Allen. Easy as that, our mud flap is on. So like I said, just those two bolts right there. Nice and easy, nice and clean. And next up, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over real quick, and we're gonna pop off the side cover, kind of show you guys the insides and how to use this here battery strap. We have a 3mm Allen, 1, 2, and 3. And then from there, we'll kind of just pull down on this side over here, just like so. Pop the bottom out. And that is infinitely easier than what is on the B1. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, guys, check this out. Oh my goodness. We got the QS 120 V3 gear reduction. We got the 420 chain, of course, just like so. Real dirt bike stuff. And then got some nice cable leads right here. We have our hall sensor right here. Let's see, this looks to be like our charge port. We'll get more into all this stuff later on. Then we have our key switch, we have our voltmeter. Actually, this is our charge port here. But yeah, guys, so basically we got all this room for battery. Like, insane amount of room right here. Now you can see this little top piece right here. You have a little hook, and then down here you have this little notch. Basically, you just hook that in just like so. Oh, sorry, I gotta pull this little lock piece off. Just like that. Take it out just like that. Put a little lock in. And then our hook goes in just like that. And it'll lock into place. Of course, once you have a battery in there, it'll be a little bit more stable. Onto the second box, pretty simple. I mean, there's really nothing really to talk about here. We got a 14-inch rear wheel right here, and we have our 17-inch front wheel right here. So what we're gonna do is start with our front wheel, and we'll put it on here. We'll get our spacers in the correct orientation for you guys, and then we'll move towards the back. All right, guys, so getting everything ready. We have our brake already mounted from before. We got our front tire ready to go. We have our axle nut, and we have our 2 spacers. Now you'll notice you have one long one, one short one. Now by directions, it says the short one will be on the non-brake side and the longer one will be on the brake side. Now before we start chucking this in here, we want to go to our brake caliper, and you should have this little plastic piece right here. This is going to keep this spread open. Now if yours is not fully spread open, basically what you're gonna have to do is grab like a flathead or something and put it in this gap and pry it over so you can push the piston back in. That way you can get your rotor seated in here correctly. I think mine's a little squished tight, so I'll kind of show you real quick. I have a flathead. Now we don't want to go, let's see if I can focus better. We don't want to go in between the pads. That'll ruin the pads. We don't want to do that. Just kind of want to go in here and just give it a little twist, nice and gentle. Don't got to go crazy. And as you can see there, we opened up that gap quite a bit, make this fit nice and easy. We're going to take our axle, kind of get this ready, and then we'll take our long spacer. All right, and just to show you, we got our long spacer in there, we got our axle started, and we got our brake disc inside of the brake, just like so. And then just a little trick, if you're having a hard time kind of shoving this in here, I kind of twist the wheel out of the way, so this is kind of diagonal away from it, and then kind of bring them both together just like that. Wheel is on, and of course before we go to the back wheel, it is going to be a 17 on the bolt head and a 19 on the nut itself. Give that a good tighten down, and the front end is just about ready to go. Now I should have mentioned this earlier. If you're installing the controller or a kit, it's probably best just to leave the front fender off for now. We are going to need to get back here on this bolt right here. We got 4 bolts right here, 2 bolts down at the bottom. So it'd probably be best just to leave the front fender and the number plate off for now. But yeah, so let's go ahead and grab our back wheel and move on to the back. All right, guys, now before we start getting to the wheel itself and the axle and all the spacers, what we want to do is put on our chain slider. I went ahead and already put it on just so I can make sure we're on correctly. Now this already has a bolt in it with this black bracket running across. You'll see these 2 empty holes right here, and then these the guide itself will have a bolt, 2 bolts I should say, 10 millimeter, and one of the bolts should have a couple washers in them. Alright guys, so I had to make a quick change. This makes a lot more sense in the position of this slider right here. So first of all, this bracket right here was on the outside, so what I did is unscrewed it and I put it on the back side of this aluminum tab right here. So as you can see, we are on the back side now, and this is just going to line it up much better. It's going to be nice and centered now. So if your little metal bracket is on the outside and it's just not working for you, go ahead and swap it around, put it on the back side of this tab, and then you can line up your slider just like so, and you should be good to go. Oh yeah, much better. So this is going to be the way you want to do it. So that bracket on the outside or on the inside, we got our bolt and our nut back here. We got our bolt running straight through. And then we have our bolt with our 2 washers on the inside right here to make up that gap difference right there. So the bolt isn't sticking out too far on the back side. And as you can see, we are running pretty damn centered. It's looking good. It's looking good. Guys, I'm going to try to get you somewhat of a bird's eye view of how to put your back wheel on. So first thing we want to do is get our brake set into its little slot here. We got our chain hanging right there. We're just going to kind of roll the tire in, and what we want to do first is line up that rotor, and then we're going to kind of push the tire in as far as we can. We're going to grab our chain. We're going to wrap it around the top, get it stuck from any bolts, and then from here we should be able to kind of lift it up, wiggle it around, and get that chain all the way wrapped around, just like so. Now these two things alone are going to hold that tire in just like that. And then what we're going to do now is worry about our spacers and our axle. What all we have our two axle blocks. These will go on the very outside. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my axle. These are 15 millimeter axles as well. Again, 17 millimeter head and a 19 millimeter nut. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our axle slider, and we want to make sure we have this pointing. You'll see the inset right here, the ring. That'll be where the head itself slides into. So make sure the L shape is pointing towards the outside of the bike like so. And then we're going to go ahead and stick this through the swing arm itself. And then what we are going to do is use this skinny spacer. So you're going to have a small one, a medium one, and a long one. So it's going to go small one, then we're going to do brake bracket, then our medium one in between the brake bracket and the tire or the wheel itself, wheel bearing. And then on this side, we're going to do the long one. Like so. Then we go through the wheel bearing, slide it in, get our little axle block sit into place right there, and we'll use our long spacer. So I'll go ahead and back this out just a touch, slide this on in, and grab our second axle block. Again, L shape facing outwards, and then this face right here facing towards the set bolt. And then we put our nut on. And then for now, we don't want to tighten this. We kind of want to figure out where we need to be as far as tension goes. So we have our axle, we have our axle slider right here facing towards the bolt. We have our small spacer. Right in between here we have our medium spacer. Go to the other side. Oh, come on, focus. And we have our long spacer right here. Again, our axle slider right here facing towards the bolt and our nut. What I want to do here is we do have these notches on the swing arm here. We want to kind of figure out where our tension is going to be. Again, I'm going to do about 2 fingers, maybe 2.5. So I kind of like where that's sitting right there. And as you can see, we are bottomed out right here. And if we look at the edge of this, we're right at the first line here. So we kind of want to just copy that. So you can see here, we are right at the edge of that first line. Now that we have them lined up, we can see we are a little bit too loose. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop this back out our nut a little bit. It's definitely going to be easier. Let's see. There we go. We have a 10 millimeter right here, and it looks like a 12 millimeter for the inside set nut. All right, let's see. We'll get that first line about halfway through the center of this block right here, about right there. And then do the same for this one. See, I'm kind of pushing my body up against the wheel and keeping it forward as much as possible, while at the same time I'm using my 10 millimeter to back these out. Let's see. So as you can see, we're on the back side, pretty much lined up with that first line there. And then of course, same on this one. On the back side, pretty much matched up on that line. So as I'm backing these out and making more tension. I'm checking this as well. So this is about 2.5 fingers right here. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this much tension. We might end up backing out just a little bit more, but really you just want to match up these lines right here. And then it looks like we should have a pretty well centered rear wheel. Another trick is basically you just want to grab a rag, throw it in here, and then back it out into the rag. So let me grab one real quick and show you. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to make this nice and tight up against these bolts, so when you tighten this out, you're not accidentally leaving a gap in here and it's crooked. So basically all I'm doing is just shoving a rag through right here, and then what we want to do is just back that up just like that so it's nice and tight, and then as you can see it'll push it right up against that. Same on this side, push it up right against that, and then I'm going to take my 17mm and 19mm, go ahead, tighten this axle up, and then we're going to take our 12mm, back these all the way down and tighten them up against the edge right here. We have our back wheel on, we have our chain tension set, we have our little lock nuts or stopper nuts, whatever you want to call them, tightened down. We have our axle tightened down. Front wheel is on, everything's together. Of course, make sure you go through everything, make sure everything's tight, like your swing arm, axle, you know, your kickstand bolts. You don't want to lose your kickstand. Just go through the bike, you know, generally, and just make sure everything's nice and snug down, nice and tight. But yeah, guys, this thing, oh my goodness, I can't wait to get it off the stand just to sit on it. So yeah, just to keep this video from getting too much longer, we're gonna go ahead and end it off right here. This has been a whole lot of fun, and honestly this was a lot easier to put together than the B1. It was nice having the pegs already done, and just, you know, everything seemed to go together really smooth. Now you guys are thinking, oh, he's already got a shirt on. It's actually the next day, man. It's been so hot out here, trying to pace myself. But yeah, guys, so B2 is officially together. We're going to end this video off right here. Hopefully this helped you put your guys' B2 together, and hopefully you're as in love with it as I am. Cannot wait to rip this thing. So we're going to end this video, and I'm going to get right to throwing my kit in. So look forward to that how-to video. If you guys are in need for a kit, far driver specifically for your B2, I have 72 450s, and for the B1 I have the 72 300. So if you guys are in need, let me know. Email is emxbrandon@gmail.com, or you can reach out through Facebook, Instagram, all emxbrandon, and I'll get you taken care of. All right, guys, I'll see you soon in the next one. Peace.